What's going on, folks? So for the next viewer request, I'll be checking out the band Kingsbane, and the name of the song is Lost in Time. Never heard of these folks. It looks like it's an old one. It's an oldie here, 1991, if what the video is saying is correct. So we're going back in time a bit here. And like I said, there's a viewer request. This song was requested by this ranger right here. Thank you. Without further ado, let's jump in our time machine and check this out. Rangers, go. I like that little ending there. That was nifty. Um, I'll be honest right off the rip. This one was not my favorite. It's that kind of song where it feels like two things. One, you got to kind of be in the right headspace for it, to kind of chill out to it. Like it's chill, but it's also not like it falls in this weird sort of realm where ultimately it's the kind of song I feel like if you want to sort of like zone out to it and kind of just feel the vibe of it and yeah, like I said, just kind of zone out and be swept away by the feel of this song because it has that sort of chill but also like what's the word I'm looking for? um uh Jeez, just not like psychedelic per se, but I think you all kind of know what I mean by you just kind of just write it, and I'm just not in that headspace right now, so that aspect of I wasn't swept away with it. So I think one, you have to be in the right headspace for this song to fully appreciate it, and second, it shows its age. It's one of those songs where it definitely shows its age. The mix is a little rough. It definitely has that kind of like late '80s, early '90s sort of vibe to it. And so it's not one of those songs I feel like just really holds up with time. It wears its age on its sleeve, without a doubt. So I feel like you kind of have to have a nostalgia for it or like a fondness for it. It's like you listen to it back then in the '90s, when the song came out and stuff, and you're in the right headspace and you dug it, and so it holds like a special place for you and things like that. So if you either of those two things aren't like true, like for the listener, it's a bit rough around the edges, and so it just didn't really resonate with me, to be honest. I thought the guitar work was pretty solid. There's some nice shredding in there. It's like you kind of had like the bridge, and then I think it was like during like the last chorus time or whatever when he's really kind of doing some high note stuff. There's some shredding going on in the background. I did really like the drum work. I thought the drum work was really solid. Some really nice fills and things like that. I'm always a sucker for that, so I really like the drum work. And then his voice, while I will say his voice is a little rough around the edges as well. I really liked when he was up in that higher register. I thought that worked really well for him. But it's like he moves around a little too much. And this is kind of where the song lost me, is what I'll get into. So when it started out, I was kind of, vibing. I was trying to feel the vibe and stuff like that. And then it's like the verses start. And that's when I first started getting lost, is because, and I love like vocal movement, but when the vocalist really kind of takes a lot of, man, I'm struggling to find the words I want to say today. Um, uh, Jeez, I don't know, but just really kind of doesn't stick to just a very standard, just bump, 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 bump. Like takes a lot of liberties, with it or whatever, and just does a lot in there. But here it's like too much, if that makes any sense. And then in conjunction with like the music, they're like in the verses and stuff, there's like a hint of like prog in there with this song, just kind of with the way the music is and the timing and stuff. And then you have on top of that the vocalist, where he's just really all over the place. He's up and down and up and in the middle and up and then down in the middle. It just all over. And so it just felt a little bit chaotic to me. And there wasn't like a nice sort of like, I couldn't like really follow that string. It's like the string almost is like it's getting all tangled up in there. and I just couldn't follow it well. So it's like I like when there's a lot of like movement and stuff, but you can follow it. But here, it just between the music there and the verses and stuff, and the vocals, his delivery and the melody and stuff, it just all got a bit jumbled in there for me. It smooths out like in the chorus, like when the chorus, I like the chorus, especially like there in the beginning of the chorus. Like I like that mood. I like the music and the vocal melody in there. It all smoothed out a bit, so I did enjoy the chorus much more than I did like the verses and stuff. It was just easier to follow, and yeah, I just kind of like that vibe. And overall, it's like I dig the vibe the song's going for. It's just certain things, just make it tough. I would say, and then of course, the mix doesn't help. There's times it feels like his voice is nice and up there in the mix, but then other times it feels like he gets drowned out a little bit, like in the music and like the splash of the cymbals and stuff. Um, but I gotta sneeze. Oh, excuse me. So yeah, and then if I'm not mistaken, it goes into like the second verse, and then like the bridge. You don't get like a second chorus like before the bridge. I could be mistaken, but I feel like I remember thinking at the time, oh, okay, we're sort of going into the bridge. And then like some stuff happens, and yeah, I guess that kind of sums up the song for me. Is just, and then some stuff happens. It never really resonated with me. While I appreciate, like I said, the musicianship, there's some nice guitar work in there. I like the drums, and then his voice. It's like that when he goes in the higher register, I think that suits him really really well. There's some really nice highs that he hits and stuff, and it's just like in the verses, it's almost like too many liberties are taken, especially when you have the music that's a bit you know, the structure of it's a bit different, and again has a hint of like a proggy sort of vibe, and the two together, it just yeah, it just it's a bit much. Um, but then yeah, then there towards the end, like I said, you get some nice shredding, some real nice high notes and stuff, and overall, I dig the vibe, and I appreciate the like the style, and like this is like from like the early 90s and stuff like that, but for everything that I mentioned already, I found it a tough one to get into. So yeah, the viewer who requested this song, I'd be curious to know, what's your history with this song? Did you hear this song when it first came out? Does this band hold a special place in your heart for one reason or another? And then also, to everyone else, what do y'all think of this song here? Be curious to know. So I think that's that on this one. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. Ranger out.